Okay, now in this part of the demo, we are going to take a look at how do we build a story page using the DWC Live connection. So I'm going to start with my home page. I am going to go to my main menu and click on Stories. So here we will see we have a couple of templates already created for us that we can utilize out of the box, or we can create a blank page by creating a new page here. And of course, we have responsive here, which makes it native mobile friendly. And we have grid, smart, canvas, all different type of pages that you can build. For our story, we're going to use responsive page. By clicking responsive page, we'll upload a new story panel here for us. So we can see we have what we call panels here, which we can add the different charts and different items to. And we can also see here we have different options and things like that. So first thing is I want to connect my DWC Live data to utilize in building the charts and tables. So I'm going to click on data, and we can see we can upload from a file, we can upload from existing data model or data set, that's from the acquired data, and we can connect from a data source when we want to use a data connection. So we can click a data connection, and under Connect to Live Data, we will see our SAP Data Warehouse Cloud. By clicking it, we can access the connection. So here we will see we have the DWC data value connection we've set up in the first demo. I'm going to click OK. So now it's going to connect and authenticate. And now once I've done that, I want to select the space in DWC I want to access. So I'm going to access the dev space. And next I want to click and select the data I want to utilize. So here I have all BL sales data, which is the consumption model I built in DWC. So I'm going to click on all BL sales data and click OK. Now the data has loaded and I am ready to start. So let's start by building a simple KPI page first. And by doing that, I just click on Insert Chart. It will add a chart to my panel here. And let's see, for a KPI, I just want to look at the measures. So I'm going to click on Net Amount Quantity and select these two measures. I want to restrict it because this is currently showing me all of my data for this. And I want to restrict it for current here. So I just add a filter. I'm going to say order date range. And here I can see the granularity. I can change this, of course, to quarter, month, to whatever I want. And we want to do it up to current here only. So clicking this will take only the current here. And click OK. And finally, for KPI is to have it nicely visualized in a numerical value. So here we go. I add the numerical value by going to the indicator and changing the chart structure to numerical value. And as you can see, it's not quite cleaned up. It has 4 decimal places. I want to make it a little bit more pleasing. So I'm going to click on styling. And going down on the chart, I see there's decimal place option. I'm just going to change this to 2 decimal places because currency only goes to 2. And with that, I've simply added a KPI chart. Now, of course, we can add different type of charts. So let's take a look at some of the more filtering and restrictive options. So let's enter another chart. And this time, let's build a top 10 book chart. So for this measure, I want to measure it by the net amount. So going to my measures, checking net amount. And this time I'm going to add a dimension. So I'm adding my dimension here. I can see here I have book author's dimension. And this time I want to select book title, because I want to have the top 10 books for a report. And again, we can add a filter, add the order date range, and just check our range for current period to restrict the data only to this current here. So you can see the default, it gives me the top N auto. I'm going to click on this So current value is 5. I want to change it to 10. Click on enter. And now it has built my report on the top 10 net amount books by title. So quickly adding a chart, I was able to add additional filters. I was able to make a top 10 and add a nice column view so I can understand the book report itself. So the next thing is, let's take a look at another form of report. And by clicking insert, again, this time I want to see over a period of time. So let's build a time series report. So again, this time let's choose a different measure. Let's view the quantity sold over the dimension period of a calendar month. So now we can see how much we sold every month, right? The total number of quantity sold per month. And let's add it again, the filter, as is we want to restrict to only our current year. That's more relevant for us. And again, just adding a filter, clicking on the range. We add the range here. So now we see the total quantity sold per month. But simply changing the structure, so I can just click and say this time I want to see a line chart. So now we have the ability to see it, but there's not enough data. So let's change this filter. And let's say we want to look back 1 year. So if I click on look back, so I click on 1 and now add it. So see how to change the data now. Now I have a more longer time series. And simply clicking and dragging it to fill the pane, I can make adjust the size of the chart. And now I can see the data over the last 2 years and see how the values have been going up and down over the last 2 years. So now I have a simple story page here built, but this is kind of KPIs, it's kind of standalone charts. It doesn't give me the ability to drill in and see more of the information that I would like. So how does the different data impact each other? So let's use the right pane to build a bit more interactive report, and allows me to see how the data is impacting each other and what functionality there is. So let's start by building, click on the right pane, inserting another chart. Let's just add and say I want to see the total sales, so net amount by calendar month. So now I want to see how much my sales are every month. And of course, add your filter. You can add a filter here, but since this whole page might be for current year only, I can always add a page filter on here as well. So I don't have to click on this one each time. I can just go to click more and say story filter. And now I can add a story filter. I want to do it on the dimensions. I want to do it by time and day. And I want to do it by year. So here I can add and filter it by 2001 and click OK. So now my whole page is adjusted to the current year, and you can see that also adjusted my whole time series chart. But now I can see only the data for this current year selected. Now let's add another chart. Select my page, and let's also add the total quantity by month, because all this information is kind of relevant to the salesperson. They want to track the total amount sold, the total quantity sold, and by how much each month. So let's do that by calendar month. And finally, we want to view and see our top authors. Okay, so we're gonna add the net amount as our measure, and dimension, we want to see our top authors. So this time did not apply the right filter, so we are going to say click on this and say we're going to rank it and say top N, and we want to see top N filters here. So now I can see my top authors for this current here. And finally, I want to see the most books sold finally. So let's add one more final chart here and add the measure quantity this time and say we want to see the top 10 book sold for the year. And again, just click on the auto and just the value. So now I have kind of all my relevant sales information for the period of the year. But again, it doesn't allow me to see how these charts impact each other. So what we're going to use is we can input a link analysis by simply clicking on the chart, saying more, and inputting a link analysis. And what link analysis does is we're linking the different charts together, so we are able to the reports interact with each other. I can do it for a whole story, for a whole page, or I can simply click on selected widgets. I want to say I do want to filter on the data point selection. So when I click on a data point, it does filter, and I want to link this one to all the other 3 reports I just built. And I'm going to repeat this process and do this for all of my reports. So I'm going to just go click on link analysis and fill this in. So I'm going to just time skip ahead quickly to save us time and do this for all our reports. And as you can see, I'm on the final one. I've linked all the thing and I added the data filters. So now, once I click on a data set, let's click on, for example, the BFG. You will see all my other reports are updated, and now it shows me the relevant information filtered on the BFG. So now I can see the quantity sold for BFG per month, I can see the net amount sold, and also the author. And just by clicking around, I can simply filter and change. So let's see for Ronald Dahl. So now it's going to filter all the top 10 books of Ronald Dahl for me and also give me the relevant information. So now I have a more interactive report that allows me to drill down and see what the different data impacts have on the rest of the tables and charts. So you see, we quickly build a story page. We made some KPIs, we built some interactive. And of course, if I want to expand it and I want to add some different ones, I can always click on add another page and insert another responsive page to my story. And we see the panes here. For this time, I only need one pane. I don't need to add another one. We see how we added different charts into the story. This time, how about we insert a table? So a table allows us to view it more in a Excel type of format. So we can see the measures are automatically added for us. And now we can add the different row measures and dimensions as well. So simply click on this. Now we can start building the different row views. And just remember, you have to start with the leftmost and build inwards to the measure. So for the example, I want to start with the year. I want to see it by calendar month. I want to also add my order ID. And then, of course, I want to see some more relevant information, for example, like author, book title, publisher, and the ISBN number. So I have most of the data, pretty much all of the data in my data source here. So click that. And now I just want to click and drag to fill the page. There we go. So I dragged it this way. I'm also able to adjust the size down if I need to. And I can make a nice table view with all my corresponding relevant information. So simple as that. I have now inserted a table, which allows me to accommodate or visualize more data than a simple chart or something. So this gives me kind of ability to view all my data at once inside of Analytics Cloud. So now we have built a story, but again, it's not quite complete. If I look at it, it's not very insightful, or doesn't give me as much feedback just from the visualizations perspective. So let's quickly make it a bit more and utilize the SAC visualization components to help us add some insightfulness to this story page. Simply, we start by renaming the pages. We can click on it and say, okay, rename. And let's name this one Sales Overview. All right, page 2, we can just name Sales Table. So we have some headers for our different panels. So this one, I feel like this is our KPI overview. And for this right pane is our sales overview, which allows us to drill in and see the data impacts on the sales. And again, these names are not kind of intuitive. So double clicking on the name, I can just give it a new name, a name that's better, more insightful. So this is my top 10 books. And same with this one. Let's see, is quantity by month and current year. Right? So now look at that. So just renaming it, it gives us a bit more visualization and understanding. Some other functionalities that we also have built in, for example, this KPI, it understands me, but it doesn't allow me to tell, okay, what does this mean? Where am I standing? So what's great for like a KPI like this is, how about we add a threshold? So let's add some color to it and add a threshold. So let's create a new threshold here. All right, so let's add a filter and one more. So from bad, so anything under 600,000 is considered critical. We need some input or changes. And for minimum, we have the 601,000 to, let's say, 650,000. Oops. Sorry, I just paused and I switched this around because I was doing top to bottom. So we want to do our max for critical. So anything under 600,000 as critical. Anything above 650,000. And finally, anything above 650,000 is okay. So here we can see the, and it's missing this one. Okay, so now I have anything under 600,000 is considered critical for the business. Anything between 600 and 650,000 is warning, we're getting close. And anything above, which is our target range, 650,000, and we're green. So now we can just add a selected measure. And so we're measuring this on the net amount, and we apply, and boom, now we have some visualization feedback. So the color yellow always means warning, typically. So now we have a visualization cue on the color itself that gives us some feedback. And same with this chart, it's great, I can see it, but how does that compare to what is it good, is it bad? So in this case, we can also add, for example, a reference line, so we know, how does it actually compare over the period of time. So let's add a dynamic. We select the quantity for this one. We can aggregate on the average, and just add some more visualization clue. We want to maybe add a little color to it, and there we go. Now I have some color added to this panel. and now my story looks a bit more pleasing, and it gives me some color and visualization, impact and insight into the data. And of course, I want to make it look pretty. I can always go to the style page, which allows me to change colors, add some visualization components and things like that. So I can really change and cater this and style it to how I want it. So it makes it really helpful and insightful, and gives some nice visualization representation. And I cannot, you can see here I did the panels, but I'm also can do this for the charts. So I can see here I have all kinds of different options, and if we go back to the builder, there's some building color dimensions here, some palettes. So I can just click, and let's make this all, now instead of blue, I want it more purple to stand out against my left pane. So I just click on here, simple clicking, and oops. Okay, and finally the last one. So now I have a nice visualization story. So let's take a look at the view and see how my story page looks. So look at this. So now I have some insightful tabs. So it tells me what it is. Look at the visualization. There's color, there is insightful. I have drilled in capabilities and impact visualization that I can see immediately. So now I have completed my story and has given me great insight, and using the live data, I'm already to be able to build a great visualization feedback that I'm able to utilize. And finally, I was talking about responsive pages. So finally, I want to show you there is it's native mobile friendly. So I can click on device preview because I can't show you on the phone. But with this, I can just click on iOS. So here's my visualization of the same report on a mobile phone. And of course, I can also view it on a tablet. So here how it looks on a tablet. So here I can see in preview how it will look on mobile devices, and you can see automatically adjusts to whatever mobile device I'm using. So with that done, we have finished our demo. We have built a nice, colorful, interactive story using the live data. And before we move on, the final thing I want to do is I just want to save it. So I click on my save icon, click on save, and I'm going to my public. I'm going to my stories. And remember, you've created a folder before. If you've not done so, remember to create a new folder with your name. And go into your folder and just save the story so you can access it again. So this is my demo story. And with that, I click on save and OK. And now I have saved the story. I can close this, and I can access it at any point by simply going to my files. And under my folder, you'll see there's my story, and I can click and open this at any time. And on a final note, if I want others on my team to have it, we talked about the collaboration, those type of components. I can just go in here and click on share. I can access the share component where I can add users and teams to access my story I just built. And I can also restrict and give them certain accesses so that they can edit, full control, all those components. And I can also see who all the users are with my access to this story I've built. So I'm able to do that. And if I want the whole company to access or everyone to access it, I can also publish this to a catalog that the whole organization and other users can download and save onto their storyboards as well. So that is done. So that is the demo for building a quick and visualizing pleasing story. And we'll continue with the rest of the presentation now.